Hi, I'm getting a haircut tomorrow, so maybe I should have recorded this video then. But Wednesday is a big day marking an important transition, um, and coming on the heels of another big transition that we all just moved through on Friday with the full moon in Scorpio. I don't know about y'all, but that was a powerful one for me. Granted, I have my Scorpio is my rising, and I have Pluto and Saturn and my South Node all in this sign. Um, and so it was definitely very intense for me. There was definitely a bit of a yeah, I mean, some very Plutonian Martian themes of like bringing the depths up to be seen and composting. Um, yeah, Scorpio is the depths, the one who brings up the things that we've suppressed, the things that we don't want to look at, but that grow larger and stronger in the shadows, right? So if we can be brave and face those things, whatever's been coming up for you since Friday, these are things that, yeah, I really believe are part of like a very powerful transformational portal that we're all kind of being invited to move through. So, um, yeah, just kind of wanted to talk about a few things. So, you probably heard that Friday was Bealtaine. Uh, Bealtaine is the cross quarter holiday. It's the midpoint between the solstice and the equinox. Um, and in Irish pagan tradition, which is, yeah, kind of its origins, um, Bealtaine was not necessarily just celebrated on May 1st. Yeah, the Irish Pagan School is a great resource. I will put a link in the show notes to their channel. They have, yeah, lots of great resources on that, but that's kind of the commonly observed celebration today by many people. But Bealtaine, they say like the whole month of May is Bealtaine. May is also like a liminal time and in Irish paganism. And yeah, lots of other folkloric traditions, like all of these sort of midpoints, right? And that's a whole astrology side tangent we could get onto, but I won't. Um, Midpoints, the in-between space, the liminal. Um, Incidentally, tomorrow in the Maya calendar is 12 Akabal, which is like the Nawal of the twilight and the transition and the not quite dawn and the not quite dusk. Um, and yeah, so there is an actual Bealtaine day, even though the whole month of May is said to be, yeah, again, in, this kind of thinning of the veil time when the ability to communicate with the ancestors and the other realms and the unseen world, be it plants, be it spirits, be it, nature spirits, animals, the dead, who are still here with us, in another layer of reality. It's this is just easier, they're more present. They speak louder, which is an appropriate theme considering that today is 11 Eek, the day of the wind and the breath of life and the words and communication in the Maya calendar. It's also the number 11, which 11 in the Maya calendar relates to the 11th house. I mean, not in their tradition, right? But there are the same themes with the Maya number 11 in in the sacred ceremonial calendar as, I just think it's fun that it's relating to the 11th house and Gemini in yeah, like both modern and traditional astrology. Um, and because of this, 11, Gemini, Aquarius, also related to this house in sign and number, they're all over the place. They're all over the place. And yeah, my teacher Mark Elmy calls the 11 in the Maya calendar the rocket with a broken stick. So I can already feel this conversation going that way, but we're gonna go with it just as evidence of how these energies are embodied in all realms of being. So yeah, um, on Wednesday, it is the 13 day in the Maya calendar, the final day of the Trecena, the 13-day period. I've talked about this in other videos, but yeah, the Maya calendar following a Trecena 13-day cycle. Um, and the 13 is the day when the ancestors are loudest of all. um, and yeah, again, when you kind of don't even have to try, like they're just there, the messages drop in, the synchronicities can unfold. You may feel even a presence tangibly. And so the whole month of May is already kind of charged with this energy. And then I just love when these things all align. On Wednesday, it's, yeah, the 13 day, it's 13 Kot, Kot being the net. Um, Kind of representing like the things that bring us abundance, the things you can gather into your net, take with you. But then also that's the things that hold us back, right? Because if you put too much stuff in your net, you can't carry it very easily. Something I've literally been dealing with in my nomading, and now I'm starting to gradually move all my stuff to Ireland. And yeah, lots of heavy bags. So, on Wednesday, Pluto also stations retrograde in the sky. And yeah, this is a big deal. Pluto moves very slowly. Pluto is the Lord of compost and, the great recycler. Pluto says, transform or die, as my teacher Lawrence Hillman says. Um, you know, if Scorpio is bringing stuff up from the depths, then Pluto and, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Pluto and Mars are very linked in evolutionary astrology paradigms as like Mars being the carrier out on Earth of Pluto's subconscious wishes. Pluto and all the outer planets, so Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, represent like the subconscious realm. Kind of by definition, they're the things that we don't know about. Um, the things that are motivating our desires, Venus, our actions, Mars on Earth, but subliminally. So this is like very related to trauma as well, right? When we act on things and we do these things that we think are like self-destructive, um, and maybe like actually literally are, having negative consequences in our lives. Um, yeah, it's because we're acting on these sort of um, suppressed emotions and experiences from when we were younger in this life, or, what Uranus, Aquarius, Gemini, this whole kind of consort represents as well is how we have memories that transcend lifetimes. Um, and what's really interesting, I had a conversation with a friend the other day where I said past lives, which I've always said. And he was like, well, time isn't linear. So what I realized recently is that it's simultaneous lives. Wow. And that's the kind of revelation and thinking that Uranus brings us. Uranus is a revolutionary planet. Uranus is like shock, surprise. Um, when Uranus was discovered, they thought that Saturn was the furthest away planet that there was. And then all of a sudden, here's another one. And yeah, same with kind of like Pluto and Neptune. That's why these planets represent the subconscious, because they were always there, right? But ancient people just didn't know they existed until telescopes were invented, as far as we know. I mean, who knows, right? They probably did. Um, but yeah, so Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, stationing retrograde is gonna, it's an invitation. Anytime a planet stations retrograde, it's like all the re words come up: redo, review, revisit, reflect. And I say rest as well, because it's not a time to be doing a bunch of stuff necessarily. So I would say like Pluto in retrograde in Aquarius is kind of like reflecting on our relationships with the collective, with local communities. Like, how do we want to show up in the world? How have we been showing up in the world, in the communities close to us, in the larger world? Like, have we been detached? That's an Aquarius thing, right? That like you can get too aloof. Have we been too up in our head and not in our bodies enough? Have we not been actually like showing up in spaces, um, you know, being of service to people, being in relationship with people, like getting out and protesting if that's, something that feels like safe and that you're resourced enough to do, which it's not for everyone. But, are you finding your ways to find the others and yeah, show up however you're being called, I guess. And then also looking at like where in the past it has not been safe to do that, or maybe in the present, because let's be real, there's a lot right now that makes it not safe to show up in public space. So, yeah, we've also got like transiting Uranus, the planet Uranus in the sky, now has moved into the sign of Gemini. So, again, we've got all this energy and around Gemini, Aquarius, Uranus, like they're all kind of facets of the same archetype, right? Um, yeah, again, the revolutionary, the liberator. So, um, yeah, another one of my teachers, Ari Moshe Wolf, not working directly with him, but using a lot of really great resources that he has. Yeah, he describes Aquarius as liberation from the known, all of the known of mind, self, reality. So Pluto in Aquarius is like liberation from all we've ever known meets the compost lord, meets transform or die. So basically, like, shake the giant etch a sketch, like, forget everything from before, like, we're starting over. Um, yeah, like some a reflection I wrote about Pluto and kind of this like through it was about my own healing work, but I think this reflects on the collective scale as well. Both the freedom and the tragedy of the Pluto cycle is realizing it's not going to work this time. This pursuit of desire. The sensory portal is limited. This vessel, this mortal coil, is not the way the transformation is going to happen. And that's a grief and a loss that must be mourned when our ways don't work anymore. That was a transmission that I think just sums up all of this energy kind of. In pure 11 Gemini thoughts all over the place fashion. I didn't finish saying what else is happening on the 6th, but it's all part of the same soup. So Bealtaine, going back to the cross quarter day, um, is actually like an astrological event. All of these are, right? So we give them like Gregorian calendar days in consensus world, uh, where we present where we pretend like time is linear and that there's a past, present, future, when that's just kind of something we came up with to organize our 3D world. But yeah, I've talked about that before. Um, Astrological Bealtaine is 15. It's basically um, when the sun gets to 15 degrees of the sun. So yeah. So basically, that is, yeah, this, I'm sorry, 11. I would redo it, but I think it's part of the experience. Um, the sun is in Taurus right now, so we are in Taurus season officially, which is grounding Earth ruled by Venus. Time to like reconnect with the Earth after all of this Aries fire energy. Like, man, Mars, ruling Aries, Mars ruling Scorpio in the full moon, it just was like so much for me. It was so much intensity and it really like built to a peak last week and then like culminated with the full moon. And then it just kind of felt like, huh. The sun has been in Taurus for a little while. Mercury is now in Taurus, but like one by one, all the planets except for Saturn, Neptune are gonna be moving out of Aries. Venus is already in Gemini ahead of Uranus. Um, and I talked about that a little in a previous newsletter. But yeah, so Chiron is going to still be in Aries for a while as well, as will Eris, but Mars will move out of Aries soon. I think we'll all get even more relief when that happens. But yeah, I'm already feeling better. Um, and like I shouldn't say better because it actually wasn't bad for me. The Aries intensity, like it was actually kind of fun a little bit, but it just got to be so much. I felt like my nervous system was frying. And yeah, Uranus is also said to rule the nervous system. Sorry, Gemini is related to the nervous system in kind of the evolutionary astrology framework as well. Um, because yeah, it's like the nerves, the thinking, the mind body connection, like it's all one, and it's only like allopathic medicine that acts like it's separate. Um, but yeah, like part of this time that we're being called into, and as the planets are moving into Taurus, this really exemplifies this as well, that it's like we need to get out of all the mentalization and the thinking and the processing and the over processing and talking ourselves in circles. Um, yeah, and with this Pluto and Aquarius transformation energy, part of what we're transforming, I believe, is our stories. And on the full moon in Scorpio, after last summer, I put my journals in an art exhibit for the PhD program I was doing at the time and have now quit. Um, Literally put them in a museum. And last Friday, I lit them on fire and it felt so good. And I'm not saying that to brag, I'm just saying, like, I highly recommend lighting stuff that you feel like you need, but maybe actually is an attachment and something that, again, 13 cot is kind of filling your net too much, burdening you down. In this case, it was literal. Like these were heavy books that I was like lugging around the world, storing at friends' houses, and they're not all gone. I still have a few more, but to go. But yeah, just like what can we release? What can we light on fire? Aries with the last of that Mars and Aries energy. What can we compost? And when we release those stories and those attachments to the trauma, like what becomes possible? Yeah, because again, like Uranus being this, um, well, sorry, let me finish Bealtaine. So the 6th is officially astrological Bealtaine. So the sun will be at 15 degrees of Taurus on Wednesday, the 6th, when Pluto stations retrograde, and in its 13 cot, the day of yeah, the ancestors, kind of looking at the ancestral burdens that we've brought with us. And all of these energies together. I mean, for me, it's very extra potent. And for anyone with Irish ancestry or kind of, who celebrates Bealtaine in any way as well, it's just really this like, wow, again, May and Bealtaine being this kind of thin veil time. And yeah, like what messages are coming through um, from the past, and like which of these are helpful to take with us, and which of them just like need to be lit on fire or turned into fertilizer. Incidentally, the journals that were burned at my dear friend's house, thank you guys, they put the ashes into their garden. And how perfect is that? I mean, it's like you couldn't, I mean, I have goosebumps. Like you couldn't have a better Pluto metaphor than that. Um, so yeah, the moon also right now is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is my sun sign, so I'm feeling good today. But yeah, like it's the polarity of Gemini, right? It's literally in the opposite place on the zodiac. Scorpio is in the opposite place of the zodiac from Taurus as well. So I really see this kind of like we're doing some like handing off of energies. And I feel like in that way, this period, it's like maybe it will feel a little, there'll be days like today where it's a little all over the place. But I think for the most part, there's like a balancing effect starting to come in for at least a little while. Don't get too comfortable. But no, but like there's nothing to be scared of. If we know what's ahead, we just know how to work with it. So yeah, after the full moon in Scorpio, bringing all that stuff up to the depths, Pluto is going to be composting for a while, but now we like get to reflect, right? Pluto is going to reflect on like what goes and what stays, and what stories still serve us and what don't, and like how do we work with the cycles ahead, so that we can like start telling a better story. So Uranus is also a trans planet. And I don't just mean that in that it's trans Saturnian, which is what all the those three outer planets are known as because they are beyond the realm of Saturn. Um, yeah, but it's like literally related to transness, and the trans experience. I was led very synchronistically in the queer bookstore the other day to a book by Paul Preciado. I've read stuff of Paul's before, amazing trans writer. If you haven't read Testo Junkie and you're interested in, gender fluidity and this experience at all, go read that. But this was a book I'd never heard of before, and it was right before Uranus entered Gemini the other day that I found this. It's called An Apartment on Uranus, and it's all about yeah, it's like a collection of essays and things from across his career, but yeah, just really focused on this idea of like the change in society that's coming and like the trans experience as very sort of like emblematic of this like Brave New World period we're moving into where we are all called and able to embody our most authentic selves, because Uranus and Aquarius is really about this like authenticity, like showing up as you really are, um, not the conditioned you, that's Saturn, but yeah, the authentic you, the true you. Um, One of my favorite quotes that Paul says in this book is, "I renounced fluidity because I desired change." I mean, that to me is just such a perfect Uranian Aquarius in its healed state, kind of expression. We're not just flipping around, we're not just floating. Fluidity would be more Neptune, like we're not just merging into the one. Um, we really are calling for change here, change that is embodied, change that you can hear in your voice, because he was talking about how testosterone was making his voice tremble. And so, yeah, one of the quotes again was changing sex, he called as a trembling bit of fear. Um, because it's opposed to the system. The voice that trembles within me is the voice of the border, he says. And so, again, we're at this border portal time, the month of May, the transition between the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius. Again, we're not dissolving into the oneness. We're not deferring to the structures, the Saturnian structures of like organized religion. We are moving beyond that. So the Saturn Neptune conjunction, is kind of, yeah, like I feel like sort of holding it down and helping us like explore this fluid time, as we move toward the age of Aquarius at another, beyond our lifetimes. But we're part of this turning. We're part of this border. We are all at the threshold. No one is exempt, and yeah, another quote that he said was, "The world is better when we tremble with it." And what could be more true, right? Solidarity, um, standing together as all people who are marginalized in this system, which, let's be real, is most of us. Can we transform the structures? Can we transform within structure? Can we be collectivist, but not the collectives that we've known, not even the alternative ones that we're starting to build, because I could do a whole video on those. And like, yeah, we're trying, but not replicating the same systems with a new framework, but really transforming, really doing something new. Uranus was, there was this thinker, this person called Carl Ulrich, I think. Sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but that Paul quotes in the book that called, Uranian as the third sex. He, I guess, was, I think, on trial for homosexuality when it was still illegal. It was in the 1800s, in 1864, I believe, and got up and said, "I am not a man, I'm not a woman, I am a Uranian." And the rationale then was like, "I am a femme person trapped in a man's body," because that was, I mean, and that's quite progressive. I might be wrong about the date, but quite progressive for this time, a long time ago. And that's kind of the thinking that has pervaded the public consciousness around transness. That's like the popular understanding of transness right now. But like, what Paul maintains about himself, and how I feel about myself. And everyone's experience of transness is different. And that very much does describe some people's trans experience. It's just not mine. Um, I'm with the like, I am fluid, I believe, but I like that I renounced fluidity because I desired change. And that one I really need to reflect on. Like, I do feel fluid, but maybe sometimes we got to make a firmer stance. Um, yeah, we are moving beyond this, the third sex idea. Um, that was very progressive for the time, but now we know that there's just so much diversity and so much richness of experience, and that transness and fluidness and queerness is all so much more than that. So yeah, may you step across the border, across the threshold, the various thresholds, with, tremble. Sure, tremble. There's a lot changing, but know that you do not tremble alone. We tremble together, and we are stronger that way.